Hi, in this video I'm going to talk about the use of Boolean variables in AWK. As you probably know, AWK is what is known as a dynamically typed language. What that means is that AWK works out the type of the variables as it goes along, depending on what you do with them. So you might think that that means you cannot have Boolean variables in AWK, but that's not quite true. AWK treats variables as being true or false, depending on what they contain. Let me show you by example. In this example, we have a variable a, which hasn't been set to anything, so it's an empty string. We're going to check to see whether it's true, and if it is, we're going to print out true found, and if it's not, then we'll print out false found. Let's go ahead and run that and see what happens. So you can see that it's found false. So a string that hasn't been initialized in AWK is treated as a Boolean false. Just to prove that, I'm now setting a to a string and then doing the check again to see whether it's true or false. So let's run that and see what happens. You can see that we get a true because AWK is now saying that because a has got something in it, it's not empty anymore, it treats it as Boolean true. By the way, just to be clear, if a variable is set to an empty string or if it hasn't been initialized, then the same thing happens. In this example here, a hasn't been initialized, but I could initialize it to an empty string and we'll get the same result. There you go, so now it's an empty string. Run it again, same result. So that's the first way that AWK treats a variable as a Boolean variable. If it's a string and it's empty, it treats it as false. And if it's a string and it's got something in it, it treats it as true. So what about if the variable is not a string but a number? So in this example I've got a variable called b, which I'm setting to 0, so AWK is going to treat it as a number. And then again I'll check to see whether AWK thinks that is now true or false. So it's found false. So in this case, AWK is saying that when a number variable is set to 0, it treats it as false. Let's see what happens if a number variable is set to something that's not 0. So I've added a second step here, where I'm setting b to a number 42, and then checking to see whether AWK now thinks that that b is true or false. Okay, so it's coming out as true. So that means that the way AWK treats variables that are holding a number is that if the number is 0, then it says it's a Boolean false. If it's anything other than 0, then it says it's a true. Just one thing to bear in mind. Here b is being set to 0, so it's been treated as a number, and because it's 0, AWK is seeing it as false. If you were to set it to the string 0 like this, and then run that, you can probably guess what happens. b is now a non-empty string. A non-empty string in AWK is treated as Boolean true. So that's just something to bear in mind. So in summary, you can have Boolean variables in AWK, and basically it's down to what variables are set to. So it sees things as true if the variable is a non-empty string or a non-zero number, and it sees them as false if they're an empty string or an uninitiated string, or a number with a value 0. I hope that's been useful. Let me know in the comments below this video if there's anything else you'd like me to explain about AWK.